So the 2025 NBA draft is officially in the books with the full conclusion of the second round tonight. Man, was it another amazing and surprising year. I'm so excited to see all of these different prospects in their specific situations, and with it coming to a conclusion, I thought that it would be right to go out and look at some of the biggest winners within this NBA draft. And of course, later on, likely tomorrow night, we will look at some of the biggest losers throughout this, but the teams that ended up setting themselves up in the right positions and got the best value player with their best fit. We're going to be looking at five of those teams in today's episode. But just really quick before we do, I want to encourage you to go down below, subscribe, leave a like, comment, and share with your friends, as well as turn on post notifications for the channel, as well as going down below to the description, looking at all of our ads for all of our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We're on all those social medias. You will get to see my reaction to breaking news within the NBA and NFL, and you will never get to miss when the podcast ends up uploading an episode. There's going to be tons of more content streaming through the social media and through this YouTube channel. So go ahead and please check them out. And without further ado, guys, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and hop into it with our very first team, being the San Antonio Spurs. They had two lottery picks in the end in this draft. They ended up drafting number two overall Dylan Harper, point guard out of Rutgers, and then also 14th overall, they drafted Carter Bryant, small forward out of Arizona. They also had a second round pick with Marquette point guard Cam Jones, but they ended up trading that pick away in the second round. And let me tell you, if they had gotten Cam Jones that second round, they probably would have had the best draft this year by far. I was really surprised to see that pick go, but they still end up with two top 15 prospects in my estimation. Now, of course, there's a little bit of questions about the fit that Dylan Harper is going to have in San Antonio with the rotation of how many guards that they have with De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle. But the good thing about Dylan Harper is that he has prototypical size. He stands at about 6'5". He shoots the ball very well. He's not just a shot creator, a playmaker. He also can shoot the ball. So he does have potential versatility to play at the shooting guard position. And especially with guys like Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox, who lack a little bit more of a shot and are much more of a playmaking, floor general type point guard that will distribute, that will allow you to play Dylan Harper more in that shooting guard role alongside Devin Vassell. So I think even though the fit is a little bit, wonky, ultimately you get the bona fide number two star within this draft, and you still will be able to find a place for him to play. And even so, he could potentially be the starting point guard on this squad. He just does so many good things well. He plays defense really solid. I really like this pick. And then Carter Bryant at 14th was really surprised, honestly, to see San Antonio go in this direction. I honestly felt that they were going to go with a backup center to back up Victor Wembanyama, because of course there are questions right now about his health with the blood clot injuries. But they go out and get Carter Bryant, who I think is a perfect 3-and-D shoe-in right here to come off the bench and give you some really solid minutes. It gives you a backup to Jeremy Shohan, which they don't really have right now, and it gives you a guy who's opposite of Shohan. Shohan, very much a box power forward, right? Somebody that doesn't shoot the three ball very well. Carter Bryant, a lot more athleticism to him, shoots the three ball very well, can play defense, and is very physical on the boards. So it gives you a guy coming off the bench. It gives you a good forward rotation between him, Keldon Johnson, and then also Harrison Barnes. You have some veteran presence right there to go ahead and develop him. And while his ceiling right now is a little bit unknown, this is a guy that is going to have all the talent in the world around him. He's going to be able to succeed right away. He's going to have the point guards that are going to be able to drive to the basket, distribute, and put him in good spots. Overall, just a solid draft year for the Spurs. Like I said, they get themselves two top 15 prospects, one guy who could potentially be their franchise type point guard, and then a guy in Carter Bryant who, even if he's not starting, is going to be a fundamental piece for them coming off the bench. We then move on to not too far down the order in the Charlotte Hornets. Now, they had double of the draft picks that the Spurs ended up. They got Concanopoulos, number 4 out of Duke, Liam McNeely, number 29, which they did not originally have. They traded away Mark Williams to grab this pick from the Phoenix Suns. You have Sion James and then Ryan Kalkbrenner going back-to-back at 33 and 34. Again, really enjoyed the direction here for Charlotte. They started this draft out thinking offense, thinking shooting, and getting two small forwards / shooting guards that I think are all around two of the day one best guys that'll be able to shoe in for your lineup. Knoble was one of my favorite prospects going into this draft. I predicted him going from number 4 to Charlotte, and I'm so glad that they pulled the trigger. If VJ Edgecombe wasn't going to be available for them, Khan was the next guy up, because I believe he converts on almost over 40% of his 3-point shots catch and shoot. Catch and shoots really well. He can play off that as well, being able to drive to the basket, attacking and distribute. So he's a playmaker, solid ball handler. He has good length at about 6'6", 6'7", with a long wingspan. He can rebound. He's just all around a very solid player. He does everything right. He limits his mistakes, and he is going to be an absolute flamethrower for you at the 3-point line. And same for Liam McNeely. Might not have the same pedigree that a guy like Knoble has. Kind of look at him almost kind of like a little brother to Con, although I believe that they're pretty similar in age. But Liam, another solid 3-point shooter from the UConn Huskies, 34% from three, I believe it was for him. He was the leading scorer for this UConn team this year. That kind of took a little bit of a step back, but even so, he was still a 3-point nightmare, going to be a good catch and shooter. And that's especially important when you have a distribution floor general point guard like LaMelo Ball, who is so unselfish and is looking to get the ball out of his hands. You surround him by shooters. This also allows them to move Brandon Miller to his more natural small forward position, which I think is going to end up being beneficial, and allows Brandon Miller to also go on the opposite end and guard the best forward on the team. And then moving on just quickly to their second round picks, you have Sion James out of Duke, who I really think is the perfect guy to come off the bench, just kind of as a defensive support type guy. He doesn't bring a lot more to the table outside of defense. I believe he averaged around 8.6 points per game for Duke this year. So again, another 3-and-D guy, not as useful offensively, doesn't have a lot of shooting capabilities, but if you really need to shut somebody down, especially in that backcourt, this is the dude that is going to be able to do it. He's going to be a matchup nightmare for people on defense. He is very, very aggressive. He is a pest. He's a high energy guy. He's going to work in row there. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner was one of my favorite centers in this draft outside of the top two that were available. I think that he is a defensive anchor. I think that he shows some solid athleticism and perimeter movement. Of course, the rim running and whatnot can improve a little bit, but to have this guy replacing Mark Williams, I feel like you still have a potential starting caliber center right here. So you virtually got potentially 3 starters shoe in. Obviously, Liam McNeely is going to play much more of a bench role coming off the bench, but you now have LaMelo, you have Knoble, you have Brandon Miller, you have Grant Williams, you have Ryan Kalkbrenner, you have Liam McNeely, you have Josh Green, right? You have Sion James. 8 guys just right there between those 8 that are already going to shoe in into your lineup. Charlotte, I've said it once, I'm going to say it multiple times. They have one of the most underrated young cores at this moment. And I am actually, for the first time in a very, very long time, am very, very hopeful of Charlotte basketball. And I'm honestly really, really rooting for these guys. I really want to see this work out for them because they have gone years without sustained success. And it would be so cool to see them in the mix in a weakened Eastern Conference. We then move to the end of the top 10 with the Phoenix Suns. They obviously have been making a ton of big moves. They obviously traded away Kevin Durant for Dillon Brooks and for Jalen Green. And then they go out and they needed their biggest need in this draft was a big time rim protecting center. And they went out and they got 2 of those guys. They traded for Mark Williams, like I mentioned, from the Charlotte Hornets. And then number 10 overall, they got Kaman Maluak. Now, I am a little bit concerned for them just because these two's play styles are very similar. So the question is, are they going to be able to play them together? Who's going to be starting immediately? But I do kind of like Mark Williams as a backup centerpiece. I would definitely like to see Maluak start and then Williams coming off the bench. I think that he could be a really solid energy guy for you, and especially with him struggling with injury in the first 3 years of his career, I think that him being at a limited amount of minutes could actually be helpful for him. And just to use his athleticism, catch some lobs, hit some mid-range shots, that could be a really, really solid role for him off the bench. But for Kaman Maluak, this is going to be a really great guy to put in the pick and roll with a playmaker like Devin Booker and a downhill scorer in Jalen Green. Both of these guys are going to be able to get to their spots, be able to throw lobs to Maluak, and then on the other end, he's just going to be a big-time monster down there blocking shots. And then they didn't stop there. At number 31, they went out and they got the guy who was the best available on my board for the second round, and that was Rasheer Fleming. They went and traded with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This guy is a perfect stretch 4 for you. So the front court was the biggest need, and now you have a lineup of Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Rasheer Fleming, Kamon Malawak, and Mark Williams off the bench. That's a pretty solid starting six right here. But going back to Fleming at about 6'9", 7'5" wingspan, a very, very abnormal wingspan for his size, which allows him to have some really good potential as a shot blocker also, but has great athleticism, shoots well from the three-point line. The only real negative for people was, can he hold up to tougher competition? Because obviously, coming from St. Joseph's, there was a big time question mark from that. But he's shown some ability to ball, and he is going to be in the right position with, dog mentality type scorers that are going to be able to get him the ball and put him in the right situations. And then they didn't end there. They end up going with 41 overall with Kobe Bria out of Kentucky, one of the best three-point marksmen out of this draft. So they get a three-point superstar out of this that's going to allow them to stretch the floor. It's the most valuable position in basketball right now. It's one of the most valuable archetypes within basketball right now is the three-point sharpshooter, is the three-point specialist, and Bria does that all day long. And again, when you have a guy like Devin Booker who plays at that two-guard position but has shown so much potential as a one, being able to distribute the basketball, and you give him offensive weapons like Bria, like Fleming, like Malawak with the lobs, like Mark Williams from the mid-range line, like Jalen Green going downhill, Devin Booker has the potential to be averaging 10 plus, 12 plus assists with this type of young roster. And I'm actually really, really excited to see how this team turns out, because in just about a week, they've managed to turn around the entire direction of their team, and they still have not traded Bradley Beal for his value yet. So we'll have to see how this goes, but I'm really, really excited of the direction that Phoenix is going in. Then we moved to a team that had a little bit less success, I would say, but I still really, really enjoyed their draft. And that was the Memphis Grizzlies. They had 2 picks overall. They traded with the Portland Trailblazers from 16 to 11 to acquire Cedric Howard from Washington State. And then they fell back in the second round at number 48 to go ahead and pick Javon Small from West Virginia. A little bit about Javon Small real quick. This dude, in my opinion, was one of the most underrated players within this draft. I honestly believe that this guy was one of the more talented guys in this draft class. The big thing that really holds him back is his size. He's only 6'2" at that point guard position, which obviously is a big time negative, especially in the modern day NBA, where point guards are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and whatnot. So he is really, really undersized. But you want to see one of the craftiest mofo's in the game. There's talks about Jeremiah Fears. Go out and check out some Javon Small tape. The dude is crafty. He has such a high basketball IQ. And unlike Jeremiah Fears, he is a lot more consistent from the three-point line, which makes him even more dynamic. And despite his smaller size, this is a guy that has that, Patrick Beverly type tenacity, that type of energy. He is not afraid to use his smaller size to get right up in your face and to just harass you around that perimeter. And he's quick enough to be able to move. He's just been out physical a little bit within that. But this is going to be a big time energy guy to come off your bench and potentially really give you a spark when you need it, especially with bigs like Triple J and Zach Edey leading in the pick and roll. Because as we know, majority of NBA offenses these days are in the pick and roll, and especially with the Grizzlies going at a certain fast pace at certain times, this is a guy at 6'2" that's going to be able to dribble between a couple of defenders and just get to the rim on the fast break. And then let's not forget about their first round pick in Cedric Howard, who is the perfect plug-in guy to replace Desmond Bane. Big time shooter, is a guy that is versatile. He can play the shooting guard position. He can play small forward. He could even play some power forward at 6'7". Average, I believe, it was 18 points per game and 7 rebounds over at Washington State. Of course, there's a little bit of concern of his injury, but this was one of the top risers within this draft. The dude went from a Division III school to potentially going undrafted, to then going within the mid-second round, to then the late first round, to then going to a top 11 pick, and I absolutely love it. He has an NBA-style frame. He has a really, really high Q for his level of basketball. Really, really long wingspan as well, so he's going to be able to guard well on that perimeter. He's not going to be afraid to attack those offensive boards. So him and Triple J combined together on the defensive side and then rebounding, the athleticism there is going to be special. He's going to be able to help Jaw out on the defensive end, where Jaw tends to struggle at times. He is just one of the most unknown, but one of the most exciting talents to really see. And I'm really, really excited to see this duo in the Summer League to see what they can do. And finally, bringing it to our final team, I have the Atlanta Hawks, who got Austin Newell at number 23 overall. They ended up trading Garrett Queen, who they picked number 13 overall, and ended up sliding 10 spots back and picking Austin Newell. And I like this pick just basically because of the value. I had Austin Newell, and I believe 3 of my 4 mock drafts going to the Atlanta Hawks at number 13. They're able to trade back, get an unprotected first round pick, and still get the guy that was probably the best fit for them. And that is Austin Newell, who is an absolutely exceptional rim runner, has a lot of really solid athleticism, can also play on the box a little bit, has some offensive creativity with his post scoring, solid shot blocker, who also was able to get some steals, average over 1 steal per game this season, so he's good on the perimeter. And again, when you have a guy like Trae Young who struggles so much defensively and who is a lot smaller, you need the other 4 guys within your lineup to be able to play defense. And this now gives them Clint Capella potentially if he resigns in free agency, Austin Newell, Kristaps Porzingis, who they just traded with, Jalen Johnson, who has incredible length, even Zachary Reese-Shea has shown some ability to go out and play defense. Atlanta is growing their size, they're growing their physicality, they're once again getting another guy that's going to be able to play in with Trae Young. And like I said, once again, they were able to get value for him at number 23 overall, and they were able to get more assets. So you 100% cannot complain with that. He is very versatile. He's going to be able to play with Porzingis with the athleticism. He's going to be able to be with a little bit more of a slow plotter and be just a side-by-side duo of rim protectors alongside Clint Capella. He can play anywhere with his potential, with his athleticism. Of course, the one knock is his three-point ability, but that can be improved potentially within the NBA. And I honestly think when you have Trae Young and Zachary Reese-Shea alone, you're not going to be needing a lot more three-point shooting, especially with them trading for Porzingis as well. I think that they have enough to cover and be able to cover up a weakness like this. And I also think that Asa has the ability to go ahead and develop that shot and get better. But nonetheless, he's going to be a defensive nightmare running from one baseline to the other. The Hawks are going to be able to play at a very, very quick pace, distributing the basketball, getting it out to him right away, and have him absolutely posterizing people. This dude is going to be a monster. Mark my words. And I think that his fall to number 23 is absolutely criminal. And that is all that I have for you guys today. A very, very short, quick video, but I wanted to do this quickly. I wanted to get out as much information as I could, and I wanted to try to shorten these videos as much as possible for you guys because I know that it's difficult at times to go out and watch a 30, 40, 50 minute to an hour video. So I try to shorten it up, talk a little bit faster, try to condense my words a little bit, so hopefully this helped. Let me know what you guys think. Did I get anything right? Did I get anything wrong? Who were your winners of this NBA draft? Also, let me know your losers, who we'll be going over tomorrow potentially. Who was one of your favorite players to be drafted? Who was your favorite pick within the second round tonight? Answer all of those questions down below, as well as subscribing, leaving a like, and sharing with your friends. And like I mentioned, please, please, please go ahead and follow us on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All the ads are down below. Go ahead and check it out. You do not want to miss the content that's going to be popping out. And without further ado, guys, that is all that I have for you guys. I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.